Well, thank you everyone for joining us tonight. For those who have just joined, if we can ask if you can just mute your microphone. If you're not familiar how to do that, you should be able to see it on your far right-hand side on the list of participants. You're welcome to keep your camera on though, because that is nice to make that connection. Thank you everyone for being here today. My name is Abby Joyce. I'm an Associate Director of Enrollment here at John Carroll. Also a John Carroll alum, class of 2008, and actually was a big participant of campus ministry back in my time there. So really excited to be here today. I am an enrollment manager, which all of you all have a representative of. So please, know that we are all still here to assist you throughout this process in these next few months. So don't hesitate to reach out to myself or any of your other assigned enrollment managers. I just want to share a couple quick housekeeping notes as before our presentation begins. So this is our very first webinar of our webinar Wednesdays. At 6:30, we will have our second one, which is the Center for Student Diversity and Inclusion. I know a few of you may be signed up for that one. And then on April 8th, we have our Center for Service and Social Action and Greek Life. And then on April 15th, we have our representatives from our alumni office. We will then have an athletics presentation with a focus on varsity sports, intramurals, club sports, sports information. So really great session. And then finally, a specific discussion on student engagement and leadership. In addition to that, some of you probably have seen that we had our official announcement of virtual celebration, which is going to be on Saturday, April 18th. We're so excited to have that opportunity to provide more opportunities for you to connect with your faculty and different academic programs, in addition to opportunities for student meet and greets and parent meet and greets, all of course virtually. So if you have not done so yet, please register for that event. Like I said, the invitation went out yesterday. Also want to remind everyone that JCU Gateway is your place to go. If you have not officially committed to John Carroll, that is a great place to go and submit that enrollment deposit. I know there's quite a few in the room tonight that have already committed, so that's awesome. For those who have not, we are hoping this will give you some more opportunities to make that decision. And then finally, we're so excited to have you tonight. This, like I said, our first webinar. So please accept any of our little hiccups as we go on, but we're really excited to have everyone in the room. I know we'll have more people probably join us in the next few minutes. If anyone has any questions throughout the presentation, please know you can just go ahead right into that chat box and ask your question. And then at the end, we're going to allow for opportunities for some Q&A. With that being said, just a couple of reminders to try to mute yourself if you're able to, but go ahead and keep your camera on as we'd love to see everyone's faces. Great. So I'm going to go ahead and introduce Dr. Ed Peck, who is our Vice President for Mission and Identity, and let him take it from there.
Great. Thanks, Abby. I can't tell you how pleased I am to welcome you to our first Wednesday webinar for the class of 2024. I know this is a really trying time for you and for your families, so I'm doubly pleased that you chose to join us tonight. So welcome. I have to tell you that I have one of the best jobs in the whole university. I get to work with people across the entire university who are deeply committed to accompanying our students throughout their four-year journey of becoming people with the intellect and character to lead and serve. As a Jesuit Catholic university, we warmly welcome people of all faiths and worldviews and invite them to share their hopes, dreams, insights, and talents as together we learn how to make the world a better place for all of God's people, especially those in the greatest need. We talk about this in terms of a faith that does justice. In Jesuit universities, we believe that the measure of how well we do this is demonstrated by who our students become. And nowhere is this more evident than in campus ministry. Before we turn to some of the staff and students that make up campus ministry, we wanted to begin by taking a quick look at a video that the students themselves produce to explain what a faith that does justice means to them. We hope you enjoy it.
Hi, folks. My name is John Scarano. I'm the Director of Campus Ministry. I want to introduce the other team members that are here. Ann McGinnis is an Associate Director of Campus Ministry. Do a little wave thing, Ann. Thanks.
Hello.
And Ann is going to talk to you about immersions in a little bit. And we have three of our super seniors here. Bree, Vinny, and Tommy, you guys want to just wave up across the top? Good. They're all going to talk to you about something different. I want to assure you, after watching the video, that we do more than dance. In fact, some of us don't even dance. There's a lot of dancing going on in that video. But let me tell you a little bit about what we do. We are here to help you grow spiritually. I think that's a hard thing to wrap your head around. I like to use a definition of spirituality by Karl Rahner, who is a Jesuit, who says that spirituality is the sense you make out of life. I really like that definition because I think we all make a certain sense out of our life. The sense I make out of my life is as a Catholic Christian man. So every decision that I have to make, the directions that I take, my Catholic Christianity is brought to bear on that decision. I like to think that we do that in campus ministry by stretching you from where you are when you come in to where you will be when you graduate. So if you come in to John Carroll as a Jewish student or a Muslim student or a non-Catholic Christian student, I want you to graduate a better Muslim. I want you to graduate more in love with Judaism, more in love with your own Christian faith. The whole idea is we're interested in spirituality across the board. I think we do that a lot of different ways as well. So students of all faiths are welcome. The other thing that I want to make sure that you understand is that nothing that we do is mandatory. So every student that comes to any of our programs comes because they want to be there. And so in some way, the onus is on us to make the program good enough where you're not only going to want to come back, but you're also going to want to bring your friends. So nothing's mandatory. You choose whatever you want to get involved with, whatever we do. Over the past, probably, I've been in this line of work about 40 years. And over the 40 years, I think I learned a couple of things that helped me understand a little bit more about college students. I think the two greatest things that that we can impart to college students at John Carroll is to tell them that they're not alone, that they matter, that their life has meaning. And we do that in campus ministry by forming community, by helping you establish a good group of friends. The other thing is, I think that when students come to John Carroll or any college student, they come with a lot of problems making choices, making decisions. I think what campus ministry does is it helps you when you're overwhelmed to have a process through which you can begin to learn to make decisions and to make choices. I want to remind you, by the way, that as we go through this, if you have questions, please put them in a little chat box down below, and we can help. So before I turn it over to Ann, I also think that one of my favorite Jesuits, and I thought Ed was going to do a Kolvenbach quote, but he didn't. So one of my favorite Jesuits is Peter Kolvenbach, who said, when the heart is touched by direct experience, the mind is challenged to change. I like to think that campus ministry is in the business of creating an experience that touches your heart, that moves you to a place where you can begin to think about things a little differently. And those experiences that we create to touch your hearts are things like immersions and retreats and faith communities and liturgies. And to begin talking about these things, I want to bring Ann on to talk about immersions. Now, Ann's not just in charge of immersions. She also deals with all of our assessments and all of our Carroll faith communities as well. So Ann, take it away on immersions.
Thanks, John. And I actually had a Kolvenbach quote to start with, too.
There you go.
And the quote is, students in the course of their formation must let the gritty reality of this world into their lives so they can feel it, think about it critically, respond to its suffering, and engage it constructively. And when we talk about the transformative nature of immersions, we transform because we go to the margins. We go to the gritty reality. We see how people suffer in their day-to-day lives in the United States, in our domestic immersions, as well as throughout Latin America. And I've met many students who come in freshman year and say, I chose to come to John Carroll just because I wanted to get involved with immersions. And after their immersion program, they then say that this was really life-changing for me. And now I want to lead an immersion, and I'm thinking of a different career for myself, or I'm thinking of more things on campus I'd like to get involved in, or different courses I'd like to take as a result of this experience of leaving the classroom and going out into the world to confront different realities. So I'm just going to share with you a brief presentation to show you a little bit more about what we do. Our immersion tagline is "A faith that does justice," and we're on Instagram and Facebook and all social media if you'd like to follow us. Hashtag faith that does justice. And our 5 values are living simply, social justice, education, community, and spirituality. And we have Thursday night preparation meetings based off of these themes. And we dive into those every Thursday from 9 to 10:30 at night. This January, we are slated to go to El Salvador to think about the United States involvement in the Civil War there in the 80s, as well as to think about migration issues. We're also going to the US-Mexico border for an upfront look at migration and immigration, and to Jamaica to do what they call accompany work, which is really just to be on the margins and to hear people's stories. And all of our immersions are designed, some of them are more service in nature, but most of them are really just designed to be accompaniment, to really just be educational. You go and you listen to stories of the people, you stay in their homes, you might meet with government officials, you might try to understand why their reality is the way it is. And so we try to have you meet with as many partners as possible to get a full view of people's lives. And then spring break will be domestic. We'll be in North Carolina with thinking about cotton pickers, and in Cleveland working with homelessness, and in Louisville with the refugee community. And then in May, for those who are STEM students, Honduras has medical brigades, which are quite extensive. And then the Dominican Republic will focus on fair trade clothing. Ecuador is also another accompaniment trip where we're in schools and hospitals. And then we're also doing an Ignatian pilgrimage in Spain. If you want more of a retreat-like immersion, that would be a good one. There's also an opportunity to take a class. There's a 1-credit class offered for every immersion. I teach that. And I have my PhD in Latin American history. So I also teach 3-credit classes sometimes on the side. And every other year we offer Engaging the Global Community credit that you can get combined with another course. So often people wonder, how will I pay? Well, we do have several full scholarships available based on need. We also have heavy financial aid. So for a typical trip of $2,000, which would be our most expensive to Latin America, aid could be anywhere from around $700 to $800 for a high needs student. And we also teach you how to fundraise, as well as personal initiatives. And everything is included except immunizations and passport. And please, if you have some questions, jot them in the box and we can field them at the end. But most importantly, I want to turn you over to Vinny, because he will share his story of being on an immersion while at John Carroll and leading one as well.
Hi, everyone. I'm Vinny. I'm a senior here at John Carroll. I have had the incredible opportunity to attend 2 of our immersions at John Carroll. So my first year, I was a participant on the Ecuador immersion. And like Ann said, that was mostly focused on accompaniment. And that experience was really the turnaround for me to get really fired up about the healthcare system, and sparked a passion in me to change my major to Spanish and Hispanic studies, because I've seen like such a need for healthcare access, specifically in dentistry, which is what I'm interested in these areas. And then I was had such a profound experience that I really wanted to lead one. So my following year, I led the trip to Louisville, Kentucky, where it was another trip focused on accompaniment amongst immigrants and refugees. So in a matter of like a week's time, we met people from over 40 different countries all over the world, seeking refuge in the United States from all kinds of reasons. And it was really amazing and eye-opening to see these people's stories and hear where they were coming from. But also so incredible to see all of the amazing resources available in the United States trying to help others, which sparked a lot of hope in us. And I just like to add, one of the most important parts of our immersion program isn't so much just the trip itself, but it's how it transforms you afterward and what you do with that open mind and that transformed heart. So it's decisions in your life for your career, sustainability, just realizing that there's so much more going on in the world outside of like yourself, your family, or your bubble, and letting that those realizations kind of guide you in a way to lead a more fulfilling life or to be more other-minded in your decisions. So I think that's really one of the best takeaways of this of our immersion program, and it has hands down been one of my favorite experiences at John Carroll, and I've made my closest friends through it. So, yeah.
Hey everybody, I'm Tommy, and I'll be
I'm gonna
talking.
turn it over to my friend Toby.
Yeah, thanks, Vin. So I get to talk to you guys about retreats, and retreats are just a really important part of like the culture on campus, where people could take a step back out of like the craziness of like our day-to-day lives and really reflect on our own spirituality and have an opportunity to go deeper. So the first year retreat is one of the first ways that students can get involved on campus in our campus ministry department. It's usually a month into like the first semester of school. And it's a good way to reflect on like your spirituality and unpack your first couple weeks on campus. And it's a great way to meet friends. I believe Vinny and Bree actually met on the first year retreat. So yeah, that's like the first retreat. And then we have the Man Racer retreat, which happens 3 times a year. And that's really centered on Ignatian spirituality. And then a new retreat that we came up with this year was the Contemplation retreat, which is an extension of that Man Racer retreat. And then the last retreat that I wanted to talk about was the 8-day silent retreat, which is in January over Christmas break. And it's just a chance to dive deeper into Ignatian spirituality and your relationship with God, and take 8 days and just like be silent. So that was really one of my most powerful experiences here at John Carroll.
Hey, thanks, Tommy. Hi, everyone. My name's Bree, and I'm going to talk to you guys about 2 other parts of campus ministry. Those are Carroll Faith Communities and our liturgy. So Carroll Faith Communities, we affectionately call them CFCs. They are small groups led by upperclassmen. They meet once a week, and you talk about how you kind of can intersect your faith and being a college student. It can be a really hard transition, and those CFCs are there to kind of anchor you, give you an outlet. They're amazing. I was involved with them from the start of my freshman year. I got to work really closely with Anne throughout my time with that as well. So, and that you can start that day one of being a John Carroll student. And then the other part is liturgy. Again, you can start that day one as well. We have over 80 students that are involved with reading or Eucharistic ministers, and you're trained right through the school, which is super awesome. I got involved with that right away as well. We have daily mass spread throughout our 3 chapels. Definitely a highlight. I don't want to speak for Vinny and Tommy, but I think I can on this. Murphy Mass is an amazing opportunity for students. It's a late night mass on Wednesday nights, and people are sitting on the floor. You're in your sweatpants. It's super awesome, laid back way to build community and also celebrate mass. So that's it with all that.
Thanks, Bree, and thanks, Vinny and Tommy and Ann. Real quick, I know that we're out of time here because I want to give you guys some time for Q&A. I just want you to know that among these other things, we also have advocacy opportunities. So we go to Washington, D.C. with the March for Life, or we go to on the Ignatian Family Teach-In for Justice. We have resident ministers that live in the residence halls, the first-year halls especially. They're there to be a presence, a pastoral presence for any student who's having, who just wants to talk or needs somebody to sit with. We have a variety of volunteer opportunities, and we have things like Bible studies and book clubs and discussion groups, and it's a lot of fun, but it's also a lot of stuff. So the last thing I want to say, it's an old African proverb, and I like to end with this because when you're on campus, the first 6 weeks you're here, you are going to be wanted by everybody. Every group is going to want you to join them. It's called love bombing. You're going to be bombed with love, you know, because you're fresh. You're the best thing since sliced bread here on campus. So I like to tell students to the African proverb that says, "Don't go so fast that you leave your soul behind." So again, don't go so fast that you leave your soul behind. Pay attention to how many things you say yes to. Okay, Abby.
Awesome. Thank you so much, John. Thank you, everyone. We did have a couple questions come through. The first would be maybe for Ann. What would you say you'd recommend for a student to fundraise for their own trip? Or if any of the other students have participated in them?
Yeah, great question. So you can check the box for financial aid if you qualify. For fundraising efforts, we generally see two kinds. One, we have an immersion portal set up. So once you're accepted into the immersion, we have all the students in sort of an online platform. And right in that platform, we have a sample letter that then can be emailed directly from the portal to anybody, any of your relatives. And there's links there that they can just click on and pay by credit card and donate directly to your trip. If it's from relatives, then it's tax deductible, but not your parents. But anyone else, it's a tax deductible donation to John Carroll, so people have an incentive to donate. We also see students do individual GoFundMe pages that they might circulate around on social media. So I think those are the ones.
Why doesn't Tommy handle this next one?
Yeah, talk a little bit more about the freshman retreat.
Yeah, so the first year retreat, that's what we call it. It's the first year retreat, and that's the one I mentioned that was typically a month into the first semester of the year, and that's like, it's student led. So Vinny and Bree have both been leaders for that retreat, and yes, it's just a good way to build community and just like reflect on your first couple weeks on campus. And there's usually one in September and one in October, if I remember correctly.
Right, and this year we had also one in the spring. So we had 3.
And then I had a student ask me what retreat is most like Kairos?
Yeah, so that's a great question. You know, Kairos is a high school retreat, which is why we don't do it in college. I think developmentally, you're ready for something deeper in college. So most of our retreats are surrounded or are around a particular theme. It's not simply about, Kairos is about a relationship with Jesus, and most of our retreats are a little bit different. I think just a little bit more developmentally appropriate for college students. But if you're looking for that aha moment, we do have a retreat for more traditional students that is basically a lot of prayer. Ed, were you going to say something?
I'm sorry. I unmuted myself because I wanted to say that we're one of the only Jesuit schools that has the 8-day retreat that I think you're just about to talk.
Well, yeah. So the most profound retreat we have is an 8-day silent directed retreat, where students go in January between Christmas and the beginning of the between New Year's and the beginning of the spring semester, and they're actually silent for 8 days. It's incredible to see. You guys all did it, didn't you? No, Bree, you didn't do it. See, of all people, Bree, you'd probably just roll right through it. But but you meet every day with a spiritual director for anywhere between half an hour and an hour, and that's the time you get to talk. But it's amazing to see a bunch of students, reading and praying and even eating meals in silence. It's an awesome experience.
I think
Great. Okay, we have a
Manresa
few-
would be most similar to Kairos, though, just to.
Manresa would?
Yeah, because I mean, just the draw we have tons of students every year that apply that we actually have more demand than we're able to fill. So there's just a big buzz around it. Students come back very hyped up, like a Kairos retreat. I think just the sort of atmosphere it creates.
It is the signature retreat.
Yeah, that's our signature retreat.
Yeah. Thanks, Ann. Yeah.
Great. A couple quick
I think
questions. Go ahead.
No, the power of it is that it's student design, it's student led, and it's students telling their own faith journeys that in college, which is different than high school. So it's great.
So really quickly, there's about a minute left for those who are hoping to jump on for the next webinar at 6:30. Always feel free to step off, but we're going to go ahead and answer the rest of the questions while we can. What kind of service projects have you done on service trips? So would any of the students want to highlight maybe more of a service trip than their immersion experiences, if appropriate?
I can briefly speak to that, if that would help. I mean, we do work with Catholic Worker House. We've done a lot of that in Appalachia. We've also worked with Habitat for Humanity on some of our immersions. We do work with Labra, and Colin, being from St. Ignatius, you know Labra. It's a group that feeds the homeless on Friday night. But if you're really looking for a lot of service opportunities, our Center for Service and Social Action has about 75 more. So you're not going to want for any service at John Carroll.
And they'll be doing their own webinar next Wednesday.
Great.
So it's a really good opportunity to learn more about that specifically. So as a freshman, do you get involved after the club fair, or is there opportunity even before that?
Well, there is the Living the Mission Day. Living the Mission Day is in August. It happens right during orientation week when you first get on campus. You have a choice of a bunch of different things, and you can choose to come on a retreat with campus ministry. We generally get about 100 students coming with us.
Great. And all right, last call for any additional questions at this point. Really quickly before we head off, I know Vinny was going to try to get a screenshot for us. So if anyone who had their camera off, if you want to turn it on, and whoever's on that front page will get a great photo of this, our very first webinar Wednesday. We hope to utilize it to market all of our future webinar Wednesdays. So if you don't want to be part of the photo, just go ahead and mute it if you don't mind. But Vinny is going to go ahead and take the photo. So everyone smile. Awesome. Thank you, everyone. I know there's
Abby?
a lot more. Yes, go ahead.
I'm sorry. I know you've let people go already, but one of the things that we like to do at John Carroll is to let our students have the last word. So if it's okay with you as our moderator, can I just invite our students to just give like a parting thought about like how, in addition to what you've already said, what's like one way that campus ministry has impacted you for the rest of your life?
Yes, of course. Thank you.
Your first.
Easy question.
I guess I can get the ball rolling with this before I start to cry. That was a great question, Dr. Peck. Campus ministry on top of John Carroll itself has shaped me into the leader and the person that I am today. With pursuing my faith actively and going after what I'm passionate about. One of the questions was, how early can you get involved in campus ministry? I remember walking down that hallway the first week of my freshman year to introduce myself, so I highly encourage you guys to do that. If you know there's something that you're passionate about, that you want to continue on from high school into college, then go for it. There's no harm in putting yourself out there a little bit. The worst thing that can happen is someone says no. So that's my parting words for you guys.
Vinny?
Tell me.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I could go.
Well, tell me.
John Carroll Campus Ministry has been my rock these last 2 years. I've basically lived in that office, and it's really just like touched me and shaped me into who I am today. And it's part of the reason that what I'm doing next with my life is doing a year of service with the Jesuit Volunteer Corps. And that has a lot to do with the things that I've learned in campus ministry.
So I think my biggest advice would be to just pursue whatever you're passionate about in college, like regardless if that is campus ministry or CSSA or a different office. But doing what matters to you is really going to be what makes you happiest and also get you far in life. I spend my weekends and my days like talking about my faith and leading retreats and going on immersions, yet I'm passionate about the healthcare field and I'm going to dental school in the fall. So like you can have more than one passion and you don't have to pigeonhole yourself into like one direction. So not every person that I know is going to be in my class next year in dental school will have had the experiences that I've had through like a faith-based community. And I'm so thankful that I kind of dug into what campus ministry had to offer.
Great.
Thanks, everyone.
Really quickly, is there the best email address to send any questions our students might have about campus ministry specifically? First, you might want to just send it right to your EM, and we'll be sure to forward it on to campus ministry. But I don't know if John or Ann wants to.
Well, you could send it to cministry@jcu.edu, and I check that every day.
Awesome.
Okay.
And Abby, I have one more thing.
All right.
I want, as a thank you to all the people that are here, I think what we're going to do is send out a video that just shows yet another way of how proud we are of our seniors. In response to us having to shift to distance learning, our seniors took it upon themselves to come out with this really elaborate system of outreach and community building and caring for one another. So there's a whole series of activities that are happening under the banner of Faith That Does Justice. So we're going to send you, as a follow-up to this call, from that account that John mentioned, a link to a video that introduces the program so you can see what type of activities that what type of people these students are. So I'm done.
Wonderful.
Thanks, folks.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone, for attending.